Hey everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Alex and you are watching BC Adventure. Today we're going to be doing a little bit different video. I'm going to be doing a reaction video to a Bell Labs archived video that it's titled Reconnecting 170,000 Customers in New York City After a Major Fire. What happened was a piece of their equipment had caught fire and took out 170,000 lines in New York City and basically wiped out an entire telephone exchange. So today we're going to be taking a look back at a powerful moment in engineering and innovation history. In 1975, a massive fire in New York City knocked out phone service for over 170,000 people. But what followed was one of the most impressive recovery efforts in telecom history, led by the minds and hands at Bell Labs and AT&T. This is just a story about fixing phone lines. It's a reminder of what's possible when expertise, coordination, and sheer determination come together. Let's watch the footage, and I'll share some thoughts along the way on how this kind of work still matters today. And believe it or not, Bell Labs and AT&T have a huge hand in the technology we rely on and use today, including our Unraid servers. And if you're into stories like this, where tech and history meet real world problem solving, make sure to hit subscribe. I just thought I'd like to bring you a little something different than usual tutorials, but yeah, let's jump right into the video.
It was a Thursday morning, February 27th, 1975. Overnight, a massive fire in a Bell switching station had knocked out telephone service for a huge chunk of Manhattan. 170,000 people woke up to find their phone lines had gone dead. Not only was it a disaster, it was a high-profile one. Recovery would have to be swift and decisive. And since this was New York City, it meant that the restoration would be in the media spotlight. Recognizing that public communications were critical, AT&T promptly brought in expert documentary filmmakers like Albert Maysles to tell the rebuilding story. Vice President of New York Telephone, Lee Oberst, was put in charge, and he took a huge risk, publicly committing the company to full restoration within 3 weeks.
Okay, we would not get that level of commitment these days, and the documentary crew would be a technician with TikTok. The amount of documentation that went into the recovery process here is absolutely amazing, and something I still wish companies did today. Uh, the amount of work that and collaboration that Bell Labs and AT&T did with contractors and industry inside of North America was absolutely amazing, as you'll see here.
5 days before that deadline, he began calling it the miracle on 2nd Avenue. Now, AT&T was no stranger to disaster recovery efforts, but this was on an unprecedented scale. Whole teams of Bell Labs scientists were needed to evaluate the damaged equipment and propose solutions. Western Electric factories all over the country sent new switching systems, and over 4,000 phone workers were brought in for cleanup and rewiring. Would they make it in time? It's a fascinating story and one of the best made films in the AT&T archives. Here is Miracle on 2nd Avenue.
Smoke continues to pour endlessly from this building at the corner of 13th Street and 2nd Avenue. In fact, it seems a bit worse now than it was a short time ago. The smoke, white and gray, is just blowing east. The trouble began early today when flames erupted in the sub-basement of the Bell Systems building at 2nd Avenue and 13th Street. And before long, 170,000 phones in lower Manhattan had been knocked out. If it's possible to believe this fire is getting worse.
You may hear the sirens in the background as more equipment arrives to battle. About a half hour ago, 2nd Avenue became a wall of black smoke, wholly enveloping us. You couldn't breathe. You couldn't see. If you tried to look east down 13th
We asked
Street...
Bob Van Zandt of New York Telephone about the scope of the fire.
We're calling it a major disaster, and the extent of it, we don't know, but something like 170,000 at the present time are out of service.
It seems very doubtful that this fire is going to hold at 5 alarms. The next progression in the fire, in the alarm fire system, would be a borough-wide call.
I asked John DeButz, AT&T board chairman, if this was the worst disaster in the Bell system's history.
The standpoint of fire, yes, it is the worst we've ever had. We have had hurricanes that knocked out more telephones but covered a much wider area. But from the standpoint of a single disaster such as a fire as this, it's by far the worst we've ever had.
It's crazy to think about how these firefighters back then, all they had were their radios and hopefully a engineer from the building who knows the layout, who could relay that to the firefighters. When you look at the technology our firefighters have now, they've got tablets and laptops that are linked up with the city, who has floor plans and blueprints for almost every structure they arrive at. And these guys are just going blind with, looked like they had some respirators on, thankfully, but yeah, it's pretty crazy how they are pretty much flying blind back then.
You go straight across Prince Street. 5 blocks.
Yeah. All right.
Call them
Going to get them right there. I just saw them. Check back.
Want to come up to the ninth floor?
Yes, sir.
There are 200 men battling the smoke and the fire and the fumes and the flame inside. There have been no more reported injuries since the earlier 50 who were treated for smoke inhalation. But I feel very bad for the men on those cherry pickers who are still just a few feet away from the windows, squirting streams of water in there.
We know that this area is burning. These cables were red hot, peak red.
Battalion Chief Joseph Riley said that the smoke and the heat and the damage were beyond belief. He would say that 98% of the first 2 floors avoid using these exchanges if at all possible. 254, 473, 475, 477. Some emergency phone service is being set up in the areas, and crews we understand are being brought in from out of state and out of town to assist in rebuilding, which is really the word to be used. Rebuilding this system once the fire department completes its job. Right now we have mobile units coming in from New Jersey, New England, Pennsylvania, and Ohio to provide emergency telephone service for such places in the area as hospitals, police stations, and some other strategic locations.
What progress are you making, okay?
Well, nobody's been in there yet, so you can't tell. All I'm saying is nobody's given up on it at this time.
Bill Ellinghaus, President, New York Telephone.
Same kind of story we were talking about.
Bill Sharwell, New York Telephone.
The Bell system was really going to be the only thing that was going to help us here.
We need a frame, and we need the cable board restored.
Lee Oberst, New York Telephone.
Good old cigarette
Jack
in hand.
Mack, Bell Labs,
Miss
Bell
those good old
Systems
days,
Research
eh?
and Development Unit. Bill Brady, Western Electric, Bell's manufacturing and supply arm. The Bell System team gathers.
I have a suspicion that we've lost a couple of floor panels. Maybe somewhere in the range
First
of
steps.
4,000.
Evaluate all information.
Okay. We certainly want people who have good experience and,
Delegate responsibility to the right people.
power and any other, and fire damage assessment. I think we ought to get to Columbus and see what they can do with regards to anything that's on a pallet, near a ship.
Find and order new equipment.
So when I said earlier that I don't think that we would be able to pull this type of collaboration off now, I mean that in the sense of the red tape and bureaucracy that would be placed in front of that type of collaboration. You know, when we saw the hurricanes down south in America, you know, some people were left for weeks and weeks without phone, internet, or power. Whereas these guys got 170,000 phones connected in 3 weeks. And when you kind of look at the grand scheme of things, they've needed to gut an entire building, make sure it's structurally safe, rebuild all that equipment in that building, as well as pull wires out of the street, refeed those wires back in, and then connect. If there's two pairs for each phone, 170,000 phones, what's that, 240 or something like that? Well, I'm way off. 340,000, something like that. 340, yeah. But it's a significant amount of work that went into it. But yeah, the whole scale of this, I don't think if 170,000 individual phone lines went down in present day, we would be able to recover them in that short amount of time. That's insane.
Western may be already doing that, but we ought to make sure.
Check and double check.
Well, that seems to be the best solution we have for the present. Bet you would, John. I don't think there's ever been anything like this in the system.
"17 hours after the first alarm, the fire is under control. The first inspection teams get into the building, one of the world's largest concentrations of telephone equipment. Prior to on-site inspection, 3 contingency plans are developed based on certain assumptions. The first, if the entire building were lost. The second, if the main frame were destroyed. The third, if the switches and relays connecting residences and business phones to the world were destroyed.
Everybody felt bad about it. Anybody that's been in a phone company for as many years as we have feels bad about it.
There isn't a telephone man alive that doesn't have something in his throat when he stands outside a building as big as this one and watches that black smoke pouring out through those windows.
You know, you work hard trying to keep an office going and providing the best service possible, and then you see it going up in flames. It's heartbreaking.
The pride these employees
At the same time,
have,
the first inspection teams were assessing the
something
damage.
I don't
The
think we have
vanguard of an
today.
army of New York Telephone and Western Electric workers began the massive cleanup. Thousands of gallons of water to mop up. Specialists from Bell Labs arrive at the scene to advise and provide technical guidance in such areas as salvaging and cleaning equipment, structural damage assessment, switching transmission, electrical power and call rerouting. Meanwhile, 170,000 residential, business, and coin telephones are out. More phones than in the entire city of South Bend, Indiana.
God,
Using
the damage.
nationwide telephone network flexibility, AT&T long lines and New York Telephone shift calls away from the affected area. Damage assessment supports earlier assumptions. The building's first 2 floors are destroyed. The main distributing frame, a total loss. 31,000 switches to local phones out of service. 208 cables in the vault must be pulled and replaced.
It's a great disaster because of the amount of service that's lost to the people.
It's just an impossible thing to live without telephone.
What can you do today without using the phone? I don't think anybody can really get by a day without picking up the phone.
What could you do today without your cell phone? What could you do today without your connected car? What could you do today without all the connected devices in your home?
Or twice or so. You know that you've got 100,000 customers who are out of service. You know that nothing like this has ever happened before, and you automatically appreciate the enormity of the restoration problem. And your mind You're only allowed to think about that for a very short period of time, and then you immediately shift into gears of what should we be doing to get ready to fix this thing right now.
We've got 2 to 3 weeks to accomplish this, and we're going to have to go all out to do it. All right? If there are no questions, then let's go. Let's get it done. Let's get it done fast.
A major problem, material and logistics. A main distributing frame takes 6 months to manufacture and assemble. New York's needs are immediate. Here's how Bell's planned system, Bell's nationwide integrated resources, work in this case. Immediately, AT&T coordinates a nationwide inventory to determine location and quantities of spare equipment. Within hours, Western Electric people locate a new main frame at their Hawthorne, Illinois plant, awaiting shipment to another Bell operating company. The order is changed, and the frame is en route to New York by air. Western halts all part shipments to operating companies. New York has priority on anything it needs. 10,000 repeaters shipped from Massachusetts. 90,000 feet of cable from Illinois and New Jersey. 12 million feet of frame wire from Buffalo, New York, all rushed to the disaster scene.
Mere integration of the system itself allowed us to get equipment onto the job much faster than we can. Where else could we go to a contractor and ask him for the type of help we required in such a short time frame?
We're working 12-hour shifts on it. We have all different types of people here with us. We have Empire City Subway, New York Tel, people from out of state with us too. All working together. 100% effort with all men. All day, all night. 7 days a week. It'll go on that way until it's finally completed.
The task of pulling out the destroyed cables begins. For 6 days, the cable drums slowly revolve the wrong way.
You know, one thing that I can't stop seeing in when these guys are talking is the amount of pride they have in the job they're doing, the service they provide, and the sense of awareness on how much the community relies on them. It's it just Man, when you call customer service nowadays, you just feel like you're an inconvenience or always wrong. And the old saying was the customer was always right. And I think nowadays it's more along the lines of the customer is always wrong until they prove us wrong. Um, but I can't help but feel the pride that they have in their job and the sense of duty and commitment they have to it. Um, it makes me happy. I don't know. It's just I have that same level of pride in my job. So it's in healthcare. So it's nice to see, but I wish we saw more of it in 2025.
Miles of burned cable are removed from the vault.
We can't call home either, you see. So we can understand how they might feel. So this is why we're working the way we are.
You have a dedication to your employer, so everybody bends a little bit. And that's what all the families are doing. They're bending to help out.
Is the
What did I
third
just
floor
say?
going to be set to accept the main frame within 3 days? Well, let me put it another way. The third floor has to be set to accept the main frame in 3 days.
The main distributing frame, the link between cable and customer. 30,000 pounds of steel, 270 sections, going up and up. A 100,000 people are without phones, cut off from the world. Emergency coin telephone vans are rushed in from nearby Bell companies, including West Virginia, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. Within days, more than 400 emergency phones are operating from 32 strategic locations.
The telephone company immediately put a bunch of phones in the house right next door to where I live. So all I need is dimes, and I'm in contact with my children and the grandchildren just by going out there.
I'm Italian, and I was brought up very strict, and it wasn't proper. My mother told me to call men. So the phone's out.
Okay. New York Telephone Company Information Emergency Service.
The day after the fire, telephone executives worked with the city government to organize an emergency telephone message center. The city says, give us the operators. We'll supply the messengers. And a volunteer service delivers the messages. 8,000 a week. Bell System Pioneers, a community service group.
Could you imagine a city doing that now? Because I certainly cannot.
Seeking ways to help in this crisis, they visit people who are isolated without phone service. The handicapped, the elderly, the sick.
Pick up the phone, I got in touch with the outside world, and they could call me and say it's nobody.
I'm afraid the equipment's holding the seal yet.
New York Telephone President Ellinghaus inspects work in progress.
Okay. Let's go see what it looks like. What I'm saying is probably I want a cable from here all the way back there. So if you can cut that kind of a piece out, you want to go back diagonally. Well, go kind of diagonal.
Everybody's been just super in the whole job, and we've been coordinating with Weston to get the frames up and going, to get the testing going, and with the engineers to get equipment into the building. Other people in Bell Laboratories from Columbus, Ohio, bringing their people in and working around the clock. It's just been a super effort by everybody.
And obviously, a big part of the success we're having in making this restoration in the time frame that we set for ourselves was the cooperation and the capability of the Western Electric Company. So that main frame upstairs sprang up out of the ground like a mushroom because they were able to commandeer the equipment and the facilities, the ironwork from another job and bring it in here.
The main frame is assembled. A job that would have taken 6 months from manufacture through assembly takes 4 days.
If something comes up in your head as you go along, it ought to be...
Meetings to coordinate, to stay in touch, to exchange information.
We may never have another fire, but at least we won't have to go through this again.
The process of replacing the cable begins. The drums now turn in the right direction.
The people are just enthusiastic and they just want to get the job done.
But it's really amazing. It's coordinated. People know where they're going, what they're doing, and I think the
cooperation has been excellent.
Okay, ready. These are the 42 cables that we pulled out yesterday, and we put them back in last night. 1, 2, 3!
How many splices do we have open now, right now, do you know? Can you give me some idea of how many we have now? In other words, we got to stay at about 120.
We have 11 cables going in. And 9 of them are completed. Okay, we have 2 more to go. And they should be completed by tomorrow morning.
Have you got guys ready to set up on those test device locations? Ready to go now?
I've seen my family once and since this thing started.
Well, right now these fellows are trying to clean up the relays in the indicator frame so that we can begin to test our equipment, which Western Electric is trying valiantly to restore. But the relays were smoke damaged and they're very sticky at this point, and we're cleaning them up with a chemical that was recommended to us by Bell Laboratories.
208 cables. Within each, 2,400 pairs of wires. The monumental task of identifying and cataloging each wire begins.
99. Turn next.
We'll have to leave them out.
Finally, the cables in the vault are joined to the main frame.
The amazing thing to me has been from the day we first went in the building, which was Thursday night, Jack and I toured the building, and every day you come back, you know, the more and more progress leading to the end when we get all of the lines back in service.
Well, Bruce, we're getting down to the deadline now. How about the horizontal blocks? Are they all up yet?
All the horizontal blocks are up now. Right now they're two teams are working, the Western and the plant department is working, running in cross connections and also wiring the blocks for us.
Western end working on the bottom and the telephone company on top, right?
Right.
That's great. I mean, it's been a real cooperative effort.
80,000 connections and cross connections, tying together 8.5 million feet of wire, to the customer on one end, to the world on the other. A new tool, one of many to be plugged in for trial under fire. Innovation like this is the result of constant interchange between operating companies of the Bell system, Bell Laboratories, and Western Electric.
Oh, it's like a big movie production, like a Chesapeake.
I get rattled by a pair of 24 network cables coming through a wall when I'm doing a new home installation. I couldn't imagine 2,400 pairs of wires in a single cable. And these guys worked for 3 weeks straight, day and night, 24 hours a day, not seeing their families for 3 weeks. That one guy said he saw his family once in the 3 weeks. That's, yeah, the dedication. I'm just in awe of these guys. Man, they were just built differently back then. And we have a lot to be thankful for with these guys. You know, without their dedication and hard work, we wouldn't have the world that we do today, and the advancements in technology. Without them, it's it's mind blowing.
The most picture, you know, so many people around hard hats. I never seen anything like it in my 25 years with the company.
The team is here, and we're going to do a job, and we're doing the job.
Okay, Willie, start the test frame on our watch here. Okay, is it running? Okay, tell me when the DST comes up, Willie.
It's been a long 3 weeks, but it's been fruitful. But I'll just say one thing, fantastic.
And I'm with Jimmy in the manhole. Jimmy, you still there? 25. Tell OJ to send Tona, right? 67.
How will I feel when the phones are back in service? Much better.
Telephone is very important to correspond. It's like a visit to me. You know, I can rap. 690. Hey, 691.
306, 303, 307.
What? 692.
Telephone company calling.
34. 72.
307.
One is always better.
"23 days after the fire, the phones are back in service. 3,500 Bell System men and women. Work that would normally take years, accomplished in 3 weeks.
Hello?
Hi, Lou.
Hello?
What could you feel except a sense of tiredness and a sense of real satisfaction at having pulled off, what everybody is beginning to call a miracle of Second Avenue.
This guy makes me want to have a glass of whiskey and a cigar. I don't know what it is about him, his calm demeanor, his I don't know, just has like a sense of command almost. He just a good glass of whiskey and a nice cigar. That's how he makes me. He makes me want to have a nice glass of whiskey and a cigar.
Hello,
Wow, that was really good. That was so good. Well, watching that, it makes you think, how would that work today? Telephone exchanges don't really exist anymore with the phasing out of dial by wire. It's all now fiber and in some cases coax. It's amazing to think about the amount of work and personnel and collaboration, logistics, everything that went into getting this task complete of reconnecting 170,000 phone lines. That is, it's absolutely amazing. The Bell Labs archive YouTube channel is a great resource. I am absolutely fascinated by the videos that they've put out and the amount of um, documentation that went into a lot of the innovations from Bell. Uh, Bell had their hands in the first computer, the telephone, satellites, radar for air defense. Um, they like it absolutely blows me away that companies don't innovate the way that they did back in the 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, and even 90s. Everything is so secretive now. Everything is so hush hush proprietary. You know, cheaply made, easily breakable, uh, designed and built to keep the consumer out of it, or to be able to repair it themselves. Um, making things less serviceable, um, making items more of a throwaway now than like back in the 70s, 1975. It seemed like they only had to replace 2 floors there. Looked like they salvaged the floors above, cleaning up the smoke damage, and it just, you know, I'm 38 years old, so I was born 86, so I have a little bit of nostalgia for these older things and simpler times. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed this video. A little bit different than I'm used to doing, but I want to do something a little bit different, but also aligned with my YouTube channel. So I hope you enjoyed this dive into a little bit of tech history. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like, and if you want to see more, hit subscribe. Until next time, I will catch you in the next one. Take it easy, everyone.